Good afternoon. President Emerson Mnangagwa must be and should be well advised to stop these Gukurawundi public hearings. It will not turn out well for him or the state or the men and women that were part of the victims. You can steal money from a man. It's okay. We get over it. You can even kill people. You can be forgiven. But it's another thing to rape the pride of a people. The human dignity of the Bulawayo chiefs is now being raped by Emerson Mnangagwa's quest for power and justification of something that cannot be justified. Those chiefs are expected to come to a conclusion that Gukurawundi was not a genocide. That is where Mnangagwa is leading the country to. That's not what you do if you want to fight to achieve peace, justice, and if you want to achieve peace in the land. You don't rape people's emotions by forcing their traditional leaders to accept that Gukurawundi was not a genocide, when in initial fact it was a genocide. What Mnangagwa must be doing is accepting that it was a genocide. He is genocidal. He should say, I am sorry. He should say, just like Robert Mugabe, it was a moment of madness. He should say, as I reflect back, I see that we erred. We thought that we were protecting the state, but we did not know that we were throwing the baby with the bathwater. Therefore, going forward, I resign. But I know that he won't resign. But if he doesn't want to resign, he should just say those things alongside those things. Let the people express their anger. Let the number be told, the real number. If it's 20,000, it's 20,000. If it's 100,000, it's 100,000. If it is a genocide, it is a genocide. If people are angry at him, they must be allowed to hurl insult at the president, because it was part of the Gukurawundi thugs. Yeah. He must allow us to say whatever, and that's how people get healed emotionally. But what Mnangagwa is doing, he's raping the emotions of the people by force with the power of the military. And he said to the chiefs, you're going to have public hearings. We know what that is. There's no public hearings there. People are just forced to speak a lie. Okay? There's nobody who's going to speak the truth there and survive in Mnangagwa's Zimbabwe. His intention is not for you people to say what you want to say about Gukurawundi. No. His intention is for you to say things that he wants to hear. And even those victims will know. Even the chiefs, the Matabeleland chiefs will know that Mnangagwa want them to say what Mnangagwa wants to hear. Which is to say it was not a genocide. Which is to water down those atrocities, so that Mnangagwa can have legitimacy to carry on raping the resources of the country. Because Mnangagwa and his regime, they are stealing the resources of the country. It's a crime enough already. It's a crime enough already. They did Gukurawundi in the 80s. It was a crime enough already. But you cannot go further and commit a fresh crime of raping the emotions of a man, the ego of a man. Imagine those chiefs, they've got women, they've got wives and children who look at them as men, as utata. And another man comes from Harare with the military to come and enforce them, because this is a forced matter. It might not be telegraphed that way. It might not be reported that way. The way it is reported, it's almost as if now there's this kumbaya moment. When the Ndebele victims of Gukurawundi are going to come and openly talk about the things that happened with them, and openly go to the mass graves, perhaps, and maybe have some a memorial, at some place, some marking of mass graves, some day of national day of weeping and mourning, and doing some traditional or customary rituals in those graves to appease the ancestors and get people to drink umqombothi there, and then have all this massive explosion of emotions that will lead to a complete healing, with Mnangagwa in the middle accepting the shame. walking in a walk of shame, because what he should do if he's really genuine, he must be walking in a walk of shame with people around him as he pass. He must humble himself and walk. You know what they do on Game of Thrones? We must be saying shame, 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 shame. He must allow himself to be there. That's how you heal your people. Because the devil people need to see Mnangagwa humbled. They don't need him in jail. Nobody wants him in jail. It's a waste of time anyway to even take Mnangagwa to jail, because once you do that, God cannot punish him. Things like that needs to be punished by God, not by human beings. He just need to forgive you. But if him is interested in really genuinely addressing the Gukurawundi issue, he should put himself, subject himself to a shameful process that shames himself, with him willing to shame himself, with him willing to be criticized, willing to be castigated by people, and still saying, my people, I am sorry for what happened. Yes, we did it, but I am sorry. I cannot undo it. I wish I could undo it, but I cannot undo it. I will let you throw words of insult to me. I will take it on as my punishment for what I have done. But going forward, I will build a country for all people. Shona people, Ndebele people, Mazezuru, Makaranga, vese vanhu venyika, seeing the pain that I've caused to you. Now I owe you an apology, not just an apology, but also a financial apology of opening up the nation's economy so that we can also participate. And especially you, victims of Gukurawundi, I should pass a law where you will have some access to certain opportunities that were blocked from you because of your tribe or because of the historical circumstances. That could be true healing. Not what Mnangagwa is doing. Not when he goes to the chiefs and the jurors with a gun on their head to force them. Because that is the intimidating aspect. It's intimidating them to say at the end of the day, you must come to a conclusion that it was not a genocide. You must come to a conclusion that Ali Mnangagwa is not guilty of the Gukurawundi atrocities of the 1980s. Everybody in Zimbabwe knows that it is guilty. Everybody knows. Nobody in Zimbabwe is trying to find out whether it's Mnangagwa or the Robert Mugabe and those people involved in Gukurawundi, are they guilty or not? Nobody is trying to figure out their guilt. We all know their guilt. And it will be a disservice to national healing if, knowing very well that we know that they're guilty, they use their military weapons and the political power to change history in a way that is dehumanizing. Especially the men. I feel sorry for the chiefs, the men, the material men. I mean, Mawindoda. I mean, you went through things like Gukurawundi, and another man comes with a gun to tell you that it didn't happen. You will say, no, he didn't come with a gun. That Mnangagwa need to go walk around carrying a gun in Zimbabwe. Don't all the Zimbabweans know that the Zimbabwean military and the CIO and the police can rain down anytime on anyone who has on Mnangagwa's orders against anyone who says Nkloe? So don't expect those chiefs to come to a conclusion that Gukurawundi was genocide. Don't expect those chiefs to come to a conclusion that Mnangagwa is complicit and guilty of being part of Gukurawundi. Don't expect, don't, you know, I was listening, I was reading one of the tweets from the leader of one of the leaders of ZAPO, who was blaming Chief Charumbira. I understand his right to blame Chief Charumbira, for Chief Charumbira to say that it was really not a genocide. But I also don't blame Chief Charumbira, because he too, what do I expect him to say? Chief Charumbira doesn't have an army to protect him against Mnangagwa. He has got no choice but to toe the party line. He has to survive. He has to say what his masters expect him to say. You see, this is a strange place where we are in Zimbabwean politics as a people. Our people have been emotionally raped, not just financially raped, but emotionally raped so much that it's no longer a crime. It's now a crime to express your real emotion. Even though the constitution allows you the right of conscience, you've got the right to think what you want to think. You've got the right to feel what you want to feel. But Mnangagwa is undermining that. And it is done in a very subtle manner. As I told you, he's not walking around with soldiers telling the chiefs that you must come to this conclusion. No. You know, it's communicated, or it is communicated. I saw Emerson Mnangagwa landing in Bulawayo Airport, being welcomed by the Ndebele men, the Ndebele chiefs. You are looking at the guy that killed your relatives, your uncles, your aunties, turned down villages and destroyed villages, and opened mass graves and buried them in mass graves, unmarked graves that are not known, denying them even the dignity of getting a proper burial. Some people don't even know where their relatives were buried. They cannot even do some traditional customs in order to appease their ancestors, or to have peace in their lives. Other children are lost in life because they do not know where their father was buried. And the amadlozi are against them or whatever. And there's the man coming from at the airport from Harare, smiling with all the military servicemen behind him, to tell you that we are gonna have a talk about the crimes I did to you in the 80s, and I want you to open up and say what you want. It doesn't work like that, Itim Nangakwa. It does not work like that. You are the wrong person to be even there in the first place. At least if you sent your wife, at least if you sent somebody to represent you, somebody who is close to you but who is not you, who was not part of Gukurawundi. At least if Mnangagwa sent his wife to say, on behalf of my husband, I came to address to talk to the Ndebele people about Gukurawundi. I know how you feel. I am embarrassed to be here. It is a shame that event happened. But we need healing and closure. Let us go to a private place and talk about it. But there's no private place to talk about it. You are already told. The government has already released data that is only 30,000 people that were affected. Estimates range from 20,000 to 100,000 people that died. The government has got its own data already. That says it's just only 3,000 affected. Concerning death, I was seeing some of these data presentations. They'll be saying 4 people died there, 7 people died there, 5 people died there. Come on, come on. You can start on a wrong footing like that to address such a sensitive issue. You see, Gukurawundi is such a sensitive issue that I believe it was best for Idim Nangakwa not to even begin touching on it. He shouldn't have started, because already starting on a wrong footing by lying on the numbers. Okay, the numbers are false. It's not 3,000 people I can't remember how much they said they died. Probably like 1,000 or 2,000 that they say died. It's a lie. We all know it's a lie. And already that works on the psychology and the psyche of those chiefs and all the people that you are saying you're healing, which means you're not there for healing, man. You're there for your own legitimacy, to come to a position where you declare that Gukurawundi did not happen. If it is possible, Mnangagwa would reach a conclusion that Gukurawundi did not happen. It did not happen. It was just some little skirmishes here and there. A few civilians were caught up in the mix. So those chiefs, those Ndebele chiefs, will have to put a stamp of approval that Gukurawundi did not happen. And if it happened, it was minor. And they will have to be vocally saying, here is the rape case that I'm saying. Because those men will say it with their lips. They will say things that they do not want to say under duress, because the sitting president has got all the military weapon to force them to say things that they don't want to say. And that is yapambanisa umuntu more than people don't mind that gold was stolen from them. People don't mind many things. But once you mess with someone's ego, the person's well-being, you have upset tranquility and peace in a person. such that there will be no way you can bring order after disorder has been brought through that. I don't know in Harare who's advising it. Can you please tell him to shut down this Gukurawundi public areas? Tell him, advise him to shut it down and not even to talk about it. Everybody knows what happened. Okay, nobody is looking for a commission to tell them what they. Everybody, it is well documented. Okay, we don't want to talk about it. You are stealing from us. You are denying us our rights as Ndebele people. We are in foreign lands being treated as dogs. And we have to accept. You know, I was talking to my manager the other day, my South African manager, of how I feel like treated like a dog in South Africa. And I was telling him, you know what? Even though I know that you guys treat me like a dog, do you know what I do? I humble myself in that position and thank God that at least I've got a job that pays my rent and buys me food. But it is not an ideal situation. It is demeaning and disgraceful and embarrassing. But we just have to do it and allow it to be like that, because our very own president in our own country is raping us as well. He's raping our emotions and doesn't even care that he is supposed to be the leader of all people. No, he's not interested in all of that. That's a very unfortunate situation to be. It's easy for me to forgive mistreatment in foreign lands because I've got a choice of going back to my country. But it's difficult when you go to your own country, the very savior of your livelihood, which is your president. If he's the one who is disrespecting you, where else can you go? You cannot go to another country. When you go to another country, you are a refugee. When you're a refugee, you are subjected to the mistreatment of refugees. And you cannot complain much. You can point it out and say, you are mistreated me. But they can say, okay, go back to your country. Simple as that. And you know that you cannot go back to your country. So you will say, okay, it's fine. Carry on mistreating me. I'm going to go and cry about it and come back and smile. I was telling one of my bosses that, you know what, when you see us smiling, it's not because we're really happy. No, we're smiling because we have to. That we don't want to smile. We're hating on the inside. It's enough. But your president, your leader, should be the one addressing your concerns, not the ones raping your emotions. What Mnangagwa is doing will trigger certain tribal tensions, even unintended tribal tensions that will be hard to deal with. It's opening a can of worms that you will not be able to put those worms back. It can take any direction to different aspects, such that there is nobody who will have an answer on how to deal with this. We have seen how other countries are destabilized because of ethnic tensions. Take a look at Somalia, Eritrea. Take a look at Nigeria, the Fulanis and the Biafra state also is claiming to be a state. You know, these people kill each other. Take a look at South Sudan and North Sudan. I mean, even though they're South Sudan, they're still fighting each other in Sudan on religious and ethnic lines. Zimbabwe has been healing. Isn't it strange that even though there was Gukurawundi in Zimbabwe, for some reason, Zimbabwean people have been very resilient in living together well. Tribal tensions always exist anywhere, in any country, everywhere, but they are not. But they are in a very well managed levels. We have been fine as a country. We have been fine. People of one tribe can speak better about another tribe, but it ends there. They'll be like, oh, and then it ends there. It ends there. Oh, they don't respect. They do this. You know what I'm talking about. You know those things. I mean, I know when I'm with my own people, they will be talking about other people, other tribes, like, oh, it ends there. It doesn't go to like to destabilize a country or economy. It's just an opinion that you have about a certain group of people that is just different from you. We have been fine as a country until Mnangagwa begins to try to destabilize. Perhaps ZANU-PF has got interest in destabilizing Zimbabwe. Perhaps the people that are looting our country try fear that if you are united, we might take them out of power. So if you begin to bring old wounds like Gukurawundi wounds, you will get to a place where people will hate each other on tribal lines and begin to argue over Gukurawundi and other issues. And other issues are going to come up, and many other things that will bring chaos in the country. And if there's chaos in the country, it's good for the looters. Because while at least we're busy dealing with the chaos of arguing about how many people died in the 80s, the gold mafia keeps on looting. The focus will be on that tension, whether it leads to something physical or something just emotional or whatever it is. The gold mafia will still be looting. Perhaps they are interested in that. Perhaps that's the reasoning behind opening this can of worms. Because Idi Mnangagwa is not the right candidate to address Gukurawundi. Another person will come along who will address Gukurawundi. That person will not be somebody who was part of the perpetrators. It doesn't matter whether that person is Shona or Ndebele, but that person will be, for example, Nelson Chamisa. He was not part of Gukurawundi. He doesn't know anything about it. He is able, therefore, to lead his people to a place of obedience to a certain national strategy that is about taking the country forward. I know a lot of our people have been hurt. I know you have all been hurt as a nation. But I need you to put above all national priority. National interests are above mere tribal tensions. Listen here. You would think your tribe is the best. I think my tribe is the best. Everybody thinks their tribe is the best. Everybody's got a problem with everybody. Let's just keep it in our hearts. What we need to focus on is on national interests. We rise above the noise. Kuti vanhu ava vari kuita izvi, vanhu ava this, ava that, rise above all that to a place where there is peace and focus on the national agenda. Perhaps Idi Mnangagwa is afraid of us to get to a place where we've got a real nationalist agenda. Perhaps he fears the unity of Zimbabweans. Therefore, one way of putting it out of spin, all this well-meaning, coordinated plan by Zimbabweans to free themselves, perhaps just throw in some tribal tensions, try to pretend that you are trying to heal a nation, but in reality, you want to rape their emotions, you want the others to feel better about the others, and then the others to retaliate, and then at the end of the day, they will not be able to focus on Idi Mnangagwa, they'll be focusing on destroying each other. The national leader must lead the nation to a place of peace and reconciliation, not to a place of havoc, because they want to use that havoc as a competitive factor economically. Remember, ZANU-PF uses political power for business competition. They use political power so that they can make laws that enrich them financially, whether it is through the Reserve Bank or whether it's through government statutes that actually allow their companies to be at some kind of advantage. So racial tension or rather tribal tensions will be advantageous to the ruling elite, the ruining elite. They really love Zimbabwe ruins. ruining the country is what they need in order for them to carry on looting our nation. A united Zimbabwe, a strong, economically stable Zimbabwe, is what the ruining party exactly does not want. That is why they're destroying everything. That is why there's not even proper water services in Harare. It's not because they can't, it's because they don't want to. If ZANU-PF is not good at service delivery, they will not be able to deliver good passports. Why are they giving us good passports? You know, the passport office is the best run office in the country. Why? Because they've got interest in having Zimbabweans get out of the country so that they are left with all the land so that they can pass it out to the Russians and their Chinese friends who will use that wealth to attack Ukraine and the rest of Europe and ultimately the King in England himself and Washington, while he's making friends with Iran that wants to destroy Israel. Our country has been reduced not just as a banana republic, but as actually a mercenary state that is whose resources are looted to fund a war against global order. Great powers, Chinese, are interested in a destabilized Zimbabwe. Vladimir Putin is interested in a destabilized Zimbabwe. That is why Prigozhin and his forces have been destabilizing Central Africa, looting the gold of the Central African Republic. Everywhere they go, looting the resources of those countries so that they can find their war against the West. And we Zimbabweans find ourselves caught up in the middle of this global warfare against good and bad. We need also to understand that perspective and align ourselves with global leaders that believe in good, the global leaders that align themselves with Judeo-Christian values. These are the values that ZANU-PF, Idi Mnangagwa, the Iranians, the Chinese, and the Russians are fighting against. We need to demonstrate and exhibit a desire to lead Zimbabwe towards Judeo-Christian values so that our friends can see a valid reason to also step up and help us in our plight against the menace, which is China sponsoring ZANU-PF. Have a great afternoon. My name is Ngobani Zondo, and I hope and I pray that one of these days our country will be free.